Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Today I've got an unboxing for you. I'm going to unbox this. This is a pen from Asvine. I believe it's a vacuum filling pen. Really excited to look at this. I've seen a number of YouTube reviews on it, so I thought, yeah, it's time to jump in and get one. So join me now down on the mat. We'll unbox it, take a look at the pen, take a look at the ink, do a writing sample, then I'll give you my first impressions. So here we are down on the mat. Let's jump in and take a look at what's in this box. So the box itself, we've got the word Asvine. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Could end up with loads of different pronunciations today. I like the two-tone nature. Let's have a quick tour around. Write and record your good life. On the back, we've got the barcode. I know it's upside down, but this is model V169. Again, we've got some more words on the other side. And then the ends, they're just plain. So let's open this up. Let's dig on in. Here we go. So inside, we've got a plastic box. Turn this around. There we go. So we've got Asvine Fountain Pen Instruction Manual. Again, just very plain plastic box. Nothing else on it. Let's open up. Got a nice safety clip on the front here. There we go. So that opens. We've got the instruction manual. Got their details of using converters, ink cartridges, pistons, on the reverse, eyedropper and vacuum filling. So it covers all the bases. I'll lift out the pen. I'm not going to take it out of the wrapper just yet. So lift that out of the pouch. There we go. And that's stuck, that foam is stuck. There's nothing else in there. So I'll pop this to one side. Just fetching the pen rest. And then here's the pen in its plastic sleeve, which I've ripped. Let's ease the pen out of the unripped part. So let's take a walk around this pen. We'll start at the top. The top, it's flat, it's metallic. We come very quickly down into the cap. It's the same width all the way down the cap. There's no graduation that I can see. The clip, again, metallic. Might be plastic, but it looks metallic. Nice and springy. Let me see if I can get it with the other hand so you can hopefully see this. Easy to pick up. I love the way the pattern follows through from the cap into the body. Bottom of the cap, we've got a little bit of a drop down. It does taper down, so it actually does seem to flow quite nicely. That then fetches us into the body. The body, again, to my eye, it's the same width all the way down. It's got this same cutout pattern in. At the end, we've got an end cap here, which is flat on the bottom. And this is what drives the mechanism. So we need to unscrew it. We pull it out. Hopefully you can see here the barrel. You can see that plunger moving. Just keep an eye as we go down. This is a vacuum filler. So the idea is you push down. It's creating a vacuum behind the plunger. Then near the bottom, it widens out. And then the ink should be sucked into the barrel. I like vacuum fillers. I've got a number of different ones now. I really enjoy them. I like the colour coming through. This is like a lovely pale green. I like that it's transparent, so we've got that demonstrator type feel to it as well. But then we've got the skeleton structure that's going on with the metal. Let's take the cap off. So it takes half, 1.5 turns to come off. Oh, just about ideal really, isn't it? And that then reveals this metallic section and this lovely looking nib. Let's take a closer look at the nib. With the nib, we've got a nice decorative border, nice engraved there. On the actual nib itself, we've got the breather hole. Underneath that, we've got a circle with an M in it. Now that could be because this is a medium nib, I'm not sure. And then below that, we've got Asvine. So, fairly simple nib. One single colour, it's like silver all the way through. To me, that's one of the things I'd like to see slightly different on a number of pens, is I'd like to see them use two-tone. I really enjoy looking at those. The section, it's concave. There doesn't appear to be much in the way of a lip at the bottom. I hold my pens fairly low down, and certainly on this first test, this feels nice and comfortable. I need to see if my fingers will slip when I'm using it. At the moment they don't seem to be, but that time will tell when I'm actually writing with it. Let's pop that cap back on, put the pen back together. I'm just going to switch over the stand and then we'll do some size comparisons. So for my first comparison, I'm going to compare my two standard pens that I try to use in all my videos. So we have a Pilot Metropolitan and we have a Lamy Safari. Certainly the Asvine makes both of these look really small, doesn't it? Let's take the caps off. I've tried to line these up so that the top of the nibs are all in a line. So with the caps off, I've tried to line the nibs up so the top of the nib is all in a straight line. The size of the nib on the Asvine, definitely bigger. I think it's a number 6 size nib. The Asvine again, a longer pen. Let's post them. Posted, the Safari and the Metropolitan both post nicely. The Asvine, that does not post. When I tried, I could get it on to maybe half a centimetre down on that blind cap, then it would just fall straight off, so it doesn't post at all. I'm now going to swap over and fetch in some pens that are in the same price range. So the pens that I brought in the Sailor 1911 Compass, sometimes called the Sailor 1911 Junior. That was 55 Australian dollars. That comes with a steel nib and it's a cartridge filler. The Pen BBS 456, 57 Australian dollars. It's also a vacuum filler, so very similar filling mechanism. Both these pens, they post nicely, but as you can see, that Sailor 1911 just ever so slightly bigger than the Asvine, even when posted. Going to take the caps off now. Here we are unposted. The Asvine and the Pen BBS, I think they're more or less the same size. They've both got number 6 size nibs as well, whereas with that Sailor 1911, wow, that's a lot smaller, isn't it? And certainly a lot smaller nib on there. Let's pop the caps back on. With the caps back on, again the Pen BBS and the Asvine, roughly the same size. And just to remind you about prices, the Sailor, that was 55 Australian dollars. The Pen BBS was 57 Australian dollars. The Asvine, that cost me 55 Australian dollars. So all well within that same price range. I'm now going to step away from my desk. I'm going to clean out the pen. When I come back, we'll take a look at the ink I'm going to use, fill the pen, do a writing sample, then I'll give you my first impressions. So the pen's been cleaned out. Time to take a look at today's ink. What I'm going to be using is by J Herbin and it's Diabolo Menthe. Now I picked this because yes, the body's green, so it's not a 100% match. But I just think it's a nice colour and I'm hoping that it looks alright when it's combined with this pen. So let's get the card out of the way and fetch in the ink bottle. So here we are. We've got Herbin Diabolo Menthe. Let's open this up. It's nice to have a bottle with a nice wide bottom so I don't need to have an ink holder in there. So I've taken the cap off. I'm going to undo this blind cap and pull out the plunger. So as I say, as the plunger goes down, it creates a vacuum. And when it gets down here near the bottom, that vacuum is released and it sucks the ink up. So we'll just hold the pen in the bottle for a few minutes when we're doing that. Here we go, almost at the bottom. And there's the ink being sucked up. Leave that a couple of seconds. Let's take this out. There we can see we've got some ink inside that body. Let me just wipe off the nib and I'll pop the pen back together. Move this ink out of the way. Time now for the fun part. Let's fetch in the notebook. This is a black and red A5 notepad and it uses the Oxford Optic paper, which is a really nice and fountain pen friendly paper. Let's do some writing. So we have here an Asvine, and it's the V169. So initially there we've had a bit of a burp. Looks like I'm getting a load of ink coming through. Let me just wipe the nib one more time. So the nib, can't talk today, we've got a medium nib, and as I say, it cost me 55 Australian dollars. The ink, Herbin, and it's Diabolo Menthe. Just going to quickly wipe that big splodge. There we go. Hopefully that's soaked up the worst of it. See if I can write the 9 there now. Let's look at drying times. So we go immediate. Well, that certainly looks wet, but it doesn't leave behind much to look at. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. Still quite wet looking at 30 seconds. Let's go for 1 minute. After a minute, well, we're still seeing a lot coming off, so I would say this is a fairly wet combo. I'm going to move the mic close to the paper so you can hear the pen writing. That's quite nice. There's a lovely amount of feedback there. Hopefully that came over on the mic. There's a little bit of a feel of drag, but I like that. I like the tactile feel when I'm writing. Yep, I quite enjoyed that. Let's look at line variation. So first we go no pressure. Now I'm going to add a little bit of pressure. So we are getting a wider line, but I am pushing on that nib a little bit. Let's do some S's. Not an overly stiff nib, a little tiny bit of line variation there coming through. My final test, my scribble. So this is my attempt to replicate the idea of doing some fast writing. So that flow is keeping up quite nicely. So what are my first impressions of this pen? It looks unusual, doesn't it? It feels quite heavy. When I'm writing, it's actually fairly comfortable in my hand. It's not too short, and definitely not too long. I personally don't mind the fact it doesn't post because I don't post my pens. But if you're a poster, that might be something you need to bear in mind. At $55, I think price-wise, it's fairly reasonable. I like the medium nib. I like the way it looks when it's writing. I like the feel. I like the tactileness. I'm not 100% sure about this ink, although when you look at it, it does look not too bad a match. I think I would have preferred it if the ink had been a little bit more green, but I didn't want a really saturated green ink, and that's why I thought, well, let's go for something like this Menthe. You know, to me, Menthe or mint, it's got that hint of green in it. Quite an enjoyable pen to use. I need to look at long term because it's heavier than a lot of most of my other pens. How does that feel when I'm doing some long-term writing sessions? I need to bear in mind the fact we had this little hiccup when I was first doing my writing. I'm going to put that down to me not wiping the nib off correctly because it's not happened anywhere else. So it could have just been that I'd left some little blobs on the nib when I first started. The other thing that we need to bear in mind is how wet it is, because from our wetness tests, even after a minute, it seemed to be fairly wet still. So if you're left-handed, if you've got a habit of putting your hand and resting it on your writing, you may need to think about that, because as a combo, this could be just too wet. In my longer term tests, I will try some different inks in here, so I'll see if it's maybe the ink that's actually wet rather than the pen, or if I get a lot of inks where I'm seeing the same after a minute still wet, we know that it's actually the pen's the wet writer. Overall though, really enjoy this pen, looking forward to spending some more time with it. So this is my first impressions of the Asvine V169. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. What do you think about this Asvine pen? I love the look of it. I'm really looking forward to spending some time using it. Please drop a comment down below. Let's kickstart the conversation. Hit the thumbs up button every time you like, every time you comment. Well, it just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.